Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you're chasing goals in the first place? Why do we spend so much time writing them down, planning them out, and stressing over whether we'll reach them? What if I told you that the very thing you believe will make you successful, your goals, might actually be holding you back? It's a hard truth to hear, but the reality is that goals, as most people think about them, are often a trap. They create pressure, anxiety, and a constant feeling of not enough. And yet, for some reason, society keeps telling us that success, happiness, and fulfillment come from setting bigger, more ambitious goals. But what if there's a better way? A smarter, more natural path that aligns with who you truly are? Stick with me until the end of this video, and I'll reveal the simple shift that can transform your life, not just your results. Think about it. How often do we look at a goal and immediately feel tension? I have to hit this target by next month. I have to earn this much. I have to become this version of myself. That tension isn't motivation, it's stress. Goals often make us focus on the outcome rather than the process. And when life inevitably throws curveballs, we crumble because our happiness and identity are tied to hitting a number or achieving a milestone. Psychologists call this the future trap. It's the idea that happiness is always somewhere ahead, just out of reach, waiting for us to finally cross that finish line. But while we chase the finish line, life keeps passing us by. Here's the thing: humans aren't wired to thrive by constantly chasing something external. Our brains respond to progress, to growth, and to becoming. Think of it this way: when you chase a goal, you're focusing on what you don't have yet. But when you focus on becoming a certain type of person, everything you do is a step forward in your identity, your character, and your skill set. Success becomes a natural byproduct, not a constant source of stress. Goals make you a temporary visitor in your own life. Identity makes you the architect. And there's a huge difference between the two. Let's be honest, goals are often misleading. They can make you think, once I achieve this, I'll be happy. Once I reach that milestone, my life will change. But deep down, you already know the truth. The person you are today is who you carry with you into every success, every failure, and every challenge. You can reach a goal and still feel empty, because nothing external can fill the internal gap. Goals are finite. Life is infinite, and the only way to harness that infinity is by shifting your focus from chasing outcomes to shaping your identity, your habits, and the way you show up every single day. Now, I know this might feel uncomfortable. It's a subtle rebellion against everything we've been taught. From a young age, we're told to set goals, write them down, and measure our worth by how well we achieve them. But here's the secret that few people ever realize: chasing goals without building the foundation within yourself is like trying to run on sand. You move, but you never gain true traction. You'll constantly feel like you're working hard, but getting nowhere meaningful. And here's the reward for those who stay with me through this video. By the end, you'll discover the mindset that lets you stop stressing about checking boxes and start living in a way that naturally produces extraordinary results. You'll learn how to harness the hidden power of identity, systems, and habits so that success no longer feels like a distant dream, but a natural part of who you are becoming. Imagine waking up every morning energized, confident, and clear, knowing that you're on the right path, not because you forced yourself toward a goal, but because your daily choices are aligned with the person you want to be. That's the freedom that comes from deleting traditional goals and embracing a better way. So, ask yourself this again: why are you chasing goals? Is it out of genuine desire, or because you've been taught that this is how life works? And more importantly, what if there's a way to achieve more than you ever imagined, without the stress, without the fear of failure, and without the endless cycle of disappointment? The path forward isn't about bigger goals, it's about a deeper transformation. It's about who you are becoming, not what you're chasing. And that shift, once understood, has the power to change everything. Now that we've begun questioning the traditional way we think about goals, it's time to look at why they can actually work against us. Goals seem harmless at first. They're neat, measurable, and feel like a roadmap to success. But when you look closer, you realize that most goals are not designed to make you thrive. They're designed to make you chase. They create tension, pressure, and a constant sense of inadequacy. Consider this: how many times have you set a goal, worked tirelessly toward it, only to feel a fleeting sense of satisfaction when you finally reached it? And then almost immediately, you found yourself setting another goal, chasing another milestone, still searching for fulfillment. Goals promise happiness in the future, but they rarely deliver it in the present. They convince your mind that life is only worth celebrating when a target is crossed, making every day in between feel like a waiting room instead of a life fully lived. Goals also have a sneaky side effect: they can narrow your vision. When you're fixated on a specific outcome, you tend to ignore opportunities that don't fit into your plan. A goal creates a tunnel, and the world is much bigger than that tunnel. Sometimes the very thing that could transform your life doesn't look like a goal at all. It might be a chance encounter, a small decision, or an unexpected path. But when you're locked onto a target, these opportunities pass by unnoticed. Your brain becomes rigid, filtering the world to only see what aligns with the goal, while missing the countless ways life could surprise and elevate you. Psychologically, goals can also trigger fear and anxiety. The pressure to achieve can paralyze rather than motivate. You start to measure your self-worth by progress. Each day that you feel you're not moving fast enough, not doing enough, not achieving enough, your confidence takes a hit. The more important the goal, the greater the fear of failure, and the greater the chance that you'll procrastinate, avoid action, or sabotage yourself without even realizing it. Goals often make us slaves to the future, living in a constant state of, "If I only had this, I would be enough," instead of embracing the power of who we are right now. Another hidden problem is that goals are external. They focus on outcomes outside of ourselves. They are about hitting numbers, reaching milestones, or acquiring recognition. But human motivation is far more powerful when it comes from within. When what we do aligns with who we are becoming, the drive comes naturally, without force, pressure, or guilt. This is why people who chase goals alone often burn out, while those who focus on identity, habits, and systems find progress feels effortless. One approach drains energy, the other builds momentum. Think about this: life is not a single moment of success, it is a series of small choices, repeated day after day. Goals can make us overlook that truth. We chase an abstract future, hoping it will solve our problems, when in reality, fulfillment grows from consistent action, daily improvement, and the small victories that shape character. A goal can give a temporary reward, but systems and identity-based living give a lifetime of momentum. The more you try to force results through goals, the more you fight against the natural flow of growth, and the more you risk losing the very thing you are seeking: confidence, clarity, and purpose. It's also worth noting that goals can create a fragile mindset. When success depends on hitting a specific target, any setback feels catastrophic. If you don't achieve the goal, it can feel like failure, not just of action, but of self. But when you focus on becoming the type of person who consistently takes positive steps, setbacks become lessons rather than judgments. You stop fearing failure because failure no longer defines you, growth does. You start to realize that the process, the discipline, and the identity you're building are more important than any single outcome. The biggest lesson here is that goals can trick you into thinking you are making progress when all you are really doing is chasing validation from the future. You measure your worth by what you accomplish, not by who you are becoming. But life doesn't reward chasing, it rewards growth, adaptation, and consistent improvement. When you replace the fixation on goals with a focus on systems, habits, and identity, you unlock a freedom that is impossible to achieve through goal chasing alone. You start living fully in the present, while simultaneously building an unstoppable trajectory toward the life you desire. And here's the deep truth: if you continue to define yourself by the goals you set, you will always feel incomplete. If your sense of success depends on outcomes, your happiness will always be fragile. But if you shift your attention to who you are becoming, your identity, your actions, and your habits, you create an unshakable foundation. Progress no longer feels like pressure. It feels like purpose. Growth no longer feels like struggle, it feels like life itself. The problem with goals is not that they are useless. The problem is that we rely on them exclusively, ignoring the invisible structures, our habits, mindset, and identity that actually determine whether we succeed or fail. If goals are the chains that hold us back, then what is the key that sets us free? The answer lies not in chasing outcomes, but in becoming, not in ticking off boxes, but in building systems that shape who we are at our core. This is where the real transformation begins, not in what we want to achieve, but in the person we decide to become. Identity, habits, and systems are the silent forces that guide every choice, every action, and ultimately, every success. Unlike goals, which rely on external validation and future milestones, identity creates momentum from within. It aligns your mind, your behavior, and your purpose in a way that goals never can. Consider this: when you focus on becoming the kind of person who consistently takes action, every small step matters. You don't need to obsess over the outcome because the process itself propels you forward. Systems work in your favor, even when you're not perfect. Habits accumulate, skills improve, and confidence grows naturally. Instead of constantly asking, "Am I close to achieving my goal?" you ask, "Am I becoming the person who naturally reaches this level of excellence?" The answer is far more powerful than any finish line because it creates lasting change, not temporary satisfaction. Psychologically, identity-based growth taps into something goals can never reach: intrinsic motivation. Goals are external, they promise reward once a target is hit. Systems and identity, however, are internal, they transform the way your brain functions. When your actions align with the person you are becoming, motivation no longer feels forced, it becomes automatic. You start to act not because you hope to get somewhere, but because your behavior is a natural reflection of who you already are. It's a subtle but profound shift. You stop fighting yourself. You stop procrastinating. You stop being dependent on fleeting bursts of willpower. Here's a way to understand it. Imagine two people. One sets a goal to run a marathon. The other decides, "I am a runner." The first person is tied to a specific outcome. If they miss a training day, they panic, feel guilty, or lose motivation entirely. The second person doesn't worry about a single run. They simply show up because it is part of who they are. Every step reinforces their identity. Every day becomes progress, not a race against the clock. The difference is subtle on the surface, but it determines everything in the long term. One path is fragile and dependent on external circumstances. The other is resilient, unstoppable, and self-sustaining. Systems are the practical application of this mindset. They are the repeated actions, the routines, and the processes that guide you toward excellence without forcing your brain to rely on willpower alone. When your system is strong, success becomes inevitable. It's not a matter of luck or chance. It's a matter of consistency. The beauty of systems is that they reward persistence, not perfection. You don't need to achieve everything today. You just need to take steps that reinforce the person you want to become. Over time, these steps compound, quietly building extraordinary results that no goal, no matter how ambitious, could guarantee on its own. This approach also protects your mindset from failure. Goals create a binary world: success or failure. You either hit the target or you fall short. Systems and identity create a spectrum. Every action, even if small, contributes to growth. Every habit, every decision, every choice builds momentum. Setbacks no longer feel like defeat, they feel like feedback. They guide you, adjust your path, and strengthen your resilience. Your focus shifts from chasing outcomes to cultivating mastery, from fearing failure to embracing improvement. You begin to understand that life rewards those who show up consistently, not those who obsess over a single moment or achievement. The shift from goals to identity also rewires your sense of purpose. Instead of seeking validation from external results, you find satisfaction in the alignment between who you are and what you do. Your actions become meaningful, not because of what they produce, but because of the person they shape. You start to live with integrity, clarity, and confidence. You no longer measure your worth by a metric. You measure it by the strength of your character, the depth of your effort, and the consistency of your growth. And as your identity solidifies, your outcomes begin to follow naturally, almost effortlessly. Ultimately, embracing systems and identity is a profound act of freedom. It frees you from the tyranny of arbitrary deadlines, from the pressure of constantly chasing, and from the fragile mindset that equates achievement with self-worth. It allows you to wake up every day with purpose, clarity, and energy, knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you are moving forward. Not because you are chasing a goal, but because you are becoming the person who succeeds naturally. And that, more than any goal ever could, is what leads to true fulfillment, lasting achievement, and unstoppable momentum. Now that you understand why focusing on identity and systems is far more powerful than chasing goals, the question becomes simple: how do you begin? How do you shift your mindset from outcome-based thinking to identity-based growth, so that every action you take builds momentum toward becoming the person you want to be? The answer is simpler than most people imagine, but it requires clarity, focus, and courage. The first step is to define who you want to become, not what you want to achieve. Most people spend hours detailing goals. I want to earn this amount, get that promotion, run this marathon. But what they rarely ask is the deeper questions. What kind of person naturally achieves these things? This requires introspection. Think about the qualities, habits, and mindset that someone who reaches your desired level of success possesses. Are they disciplined, resilient, patient, curious, compassionate? Identify the traits that define that version of you, and then begin acting as if you are already that person. Once you know who you want to become, it's time to focus on your daily actions, the small steps that align with your identity. These aren't just tasks on a checklist. They are deliberate choices that reinforce the person you are becoming. Every action, no matter how small, is a building block. If you want to be a disciplined person, you start by showing up consistently in small ways, waking up on time, completing tasks you start, following through on promises to yourself. If you want to be a creative person, you dedicate time daily to practice, experiment, and explore. The key is not intensity, but consistency. Each small choice compounds over time, quietly transforming who you are at a fundamental level. This is where the psychological magic happens. Our brains are wired to follow patterns. When your actions consistently match your desired identity, your subconscious begins to adopt it as truth. You stop forcing yourself to do something because you should. You do it naturally because it aligns with the person you already are. Motivation stops being a fleeting spark and becomes a steady current, carrying you forward with ease. Habits become extensions of your identity, and your life starts to shift without the constant struggle that comes from chasing external outcomes. Another essential part of this process is learning to embrace progress, not perfection. Goals often make people impatient. They demand immediate results. But identity-based growth understands that transformation takes time. Every small action matters, even if it doesn't produce instant results. Every time you choose to act in alignment with the person you want to be, you strengthen your identity and reinforce the systems that support it. Success is no longer about a single dramatic leap. It's about consistent forward motion, no matter how small it feels in the moment. It's also critical to create feedback loops that help you grow. When you focus on identity rather than goals, setbacks become opportunities rather than failures. If something doesn't go as planned, ask yourself, what does this teach me about who I am becoming? Adjust your habits, refine your systems, and keep moving forward. Growth is not linear, and neither is life. By focusing on identity and systems, you allow yourself to be adaptable while staying committed to the trajectory of becoming the best version of yourself. Finally, begin every day with a conscious choice. Who are you today? Not what will you accomplish, but who will you be? That simple shift in perspective changes everything. It replaces pressure with purpose, stress with clarity, and fear with confidence. Each decision, each habit, and each repeated action becomes meaningful because it is directly tied to your identity. You no longer live in anticipation of a distant reward. You live fully in alignment with the person you are becoming. The beauty of this approach is that it turns ordinary days into extraordinary opportunities. Life no longer feels like a series of deadlines and checkpoints. it becomes a continuous path of growth and self-mastery. You realize that success isn't an event to be waited for. It's a natural outcome of the person you are every single day. And once you adopt this mindset, you'll find that the pressure of traditional goals melts away, replaced by a steady, unstoppable momentum that moves you forward even in uncertainty. The path forward is simple, yet profound. Decide who you want to become. Focus on consistent daily actions that reflect that identity, embrace progress over perfection, and allow every small habit to compound into extraordinary growth. This is the secret that the world rarely teaches, but it is the foundation of unstoppable success and fulfillment. It's not about what you want to achieve, it's about who you choose to be. And every single choice you make today brings that person one step closer to life as they were meant to live it. Once you start focusing on identity and systems, something remarkable begins to happen. You begin to see that life is not about chasing arbitrary milestones or external validation. It's about growth, alignment, and becoming the person capable of creating the life you desire. This realization changes everything, because it frees you from the constant pressure and anxiety that comes with traditional goal chasing. The deeper motivation lies not in what you achieve, but in who you become along the way. Think about it: every action you take, every habit you build, every small choice you make is quietly shaping your character. While others are busy measuring their worth by what they accomplish, you are becoming unstoppable because you are building the foundation of who you truly are. This is far more powerful than any goal because it creates resilience, confidence, and clarity that lasts even when life gets messy. When your identity is strong, nothing external can shake you. Setbacks are no longer failures, they are lessons. Obstacles are no longer stops, they are opportunities. Psychologically, this is why identity-driven growth is so motivating. Humans are wired to act consistently with their self-image. When you believe you are a disciplined, capable, and persistent person, your mind naturally aligns your actions with that identity. You don't need to rely on fleeting motivation, fear, or willpower to move forward. Motivation becomes effortless because it is no longer about a distant outcome, it is about living authentically in alignment with the person you have chosen to be. Every day becomes meaningful, every challenge becomes manageable, and every step feels like progress. The deeper truth is that life rewards those who show up, not those who chase. Systems and identity cultivate a sense of purpose that goals can never provide. When you focus on becoming the person who consistently acts, who constantly learns, who persistently grows, success becomes a byproduct, not a pursuit. You no longer live for the reward, you live for the journey, and the journey itself produces results that are far more substantial than any goal could promise. Fulfillment emerges naturally when your actions and identity are aligned, and that fulfillment fuels your drive far more reliably than any goal ever could. This shift also changes the way you experience time. Goals often make life feel like a countdown. You're always waiting for a moment in the future when life will start or feel complete. Identity-driven living transforms the present into the place where everything happens. You stop postponing happiness, confidence, and growth because you realize that every moment is a chance to act in alignment with who you are becoming. Life no longer feels like a race against deadlines. It becomes a continuous, expansive journey of progress and self-discovery. The motivation runs even deeper when you realize that identity and systems are sustainable. Goals are finite, they can be achieved, but once they are, new pressures emerge. Systems are infinite. Habits compound, character strengthens, confidence grows, and every positive action reinforces the foundation of your life. You start to understand that fulfillment is not a destination. It is the natural result of becoming the type of person who consistently chooses growth, resilience, and mastery. This realization alone can light a fire inside you that never goes out. Think about the people who achieve lasting success and influence. Rarely is it because they had the perfect goal at the perfect time. It's because they consistently showed up, honed their craft, refined their habits, and built the identity of someone who naturally produces excellence. Their results are inevitable because their foundation is unshakable. That same principle applies to everyone. You don't need luck, motivation, or even inspiration. You need consistency, identity, and systems, and the courage to commit to the long-term process of becoming. At its core, this approach taps into a deep human truth: fulfillment comes from growth, not from checking off a box. Happiness emerges from alignment, not from hitting a target. Confidence is born from identity, not from achievement. When you live this way, life rewards you in ways goals never could. You start to feel powerful, capable, and unstoppable, not because you've reached a particular milestone, but because every day, your actions prove to yourself that you are the kind of person who overcomes, achieves, and grows. And that is the real motivation. It is the quiet, unshakable drive that comes from within. It doesn't depend on external circumstances, it doesn't waver when obstacles appear, and it doesn't fade when life gets difficult. It is the knowledge that every choice you make, every habit you reinforce, and every small step you take is building a life of purpose, mastery, and fulfillment. You are no longer chasing, you are becoming. And becoming is far more powerful, far more rewarding, and far more meaningful than any goal could ever be. Now is the moment to fully understand what it means to delete your goals and embrace a life built on identity and systems. The truth is simple, yet profound: chasing goals alone will never create the fulfillment, confidence, or unstoppable momentum you crave. Goals can give temporary satisfaction, but they are fragile. They are dependent on results, deadlines, and circumstances beyond your control. True power, true progress, and true success come from becoming the kind of person who naturally creates the life you desire. And that is entirely within your control. Imagine living each day without the constant pressure of checking off boxes or meeting targets. Imagine waking up with clarity, purpose, and the quiet confidence that every action you take is meaningful. Every habit you form, every choice you make, every small step forward is reinforcing the person you are becoming. You no longer live in fear of failure or disappointment, because your identity is stronger than any temporary setback. You begin to see life as a series of opportunities to grow, to improve, and to expand the person you are, rather than as a relentless chase after an external reward. This shift in perspective is liberating. You realize that success is no longer a distant horizon you have to run toward. It is the natural result of your daily actions, your systems, and your identity. You stop measuring your worth by outcomes and start measuring it by your courage, your discipline, and your persistence. Every day, you prove to yourself that you are capable, that you are resilient, and that you are growing. And as your identity strengthens, results will follow naturally. They are no longer something you force. They are something you earn effortlessly through the consistent alignment of who you are with what you do. Consider the power of this approach in moments of challenge. When life throws obstacles in your path, when setbacks occur, or when circumstances feel uncertain, you remain grounded. Why? Because your sense of self, your systems, and your habits are unshakable. You are no longer dependent on outcomes for your confidence. You are no longer vulnerable to disappointment when things don't go as planned. You act because it aligns with the person you are becoming, and that alignment carries you forward with quiet strength and unstoppable momentum. This is the ultimate form of motivation. It doesn't fade when life gets hard. It doesn't depend on luck, external validation, or fleeting inspiration. It is the deep, unshakable drive that comes from knowing that every action you take builds the life you want, not tomorrow, not next year, but through every choice you make today. And when you live this way, the extraordinary becomes inevitable. Growth, progress, and achievement are no longer miracles. They are natural outcomes of your commitment to becoming. Now is the time to act, not because someone told you to, and not because there's a goal you must hit, but because you have the power to shape your life through your daily choices. Delete the pressure of rigid goals. Focus on who you are becoming. Build your systems, refine your habits, and take deliberate action every single day. Every step matters, no matter how small, because every step compounds into exponential growth over time. Remember, this life does not reward wishful thinking. It rewards action. It rewards the person who shows up consistently. It rewards the person who chooses growth over comfort, persistence over fear, and alignment over outcome. When you commit to becoming the person capable of extraordinary things, you stop chasing life. You start living it fully, intentionally, and powerfully. Your actions are no longer about proving yourself, they are about expressing the person you already are becoming. The final truth is this: success, fulfillment, and mastery are not found in the next goal, the next milestone, or the next achievement. They are found in who you become through the choices you make, the habits you form, and the systems you build today. Every single day is an opportunity to reinforce your identity, strengthen your character, and move closer to the life you were meant to live. Stop chasing, start becoming. When you do, you will discover that life rewards the person who consistently acts, learns, and grows far beyond anything a goal alone could ever promise.